Hi, I'm Ryan. Welcome, and let's begin. A cold wind passed through the gaps in the old wooden wall. A young boy named Jack sat on the floor, rubbing his cold hands together. He looked into the fireplace. No wood, only gray, cold ash. His mother sat at the table. Her face was pale. She held an empty ceramic jug. "Jack," she whispered, her voice trembling. "There is nothing left. The cupboards are completely empty." Jack stood up and walked to the window. Outside, in the tiny yard, stood a beautiful cow with dark, kind eyes, milky white. She was chewing a small piece of dry grass. "But we have Milky White, Mother," Jack said softly. "She always helps us." His mother shook her head, a tear falling down her wrinkled cheek. "No, my boy. Look at the jug. She didn't give a single drop of milk this morning. Not one. Without milk, we have no food. Without food, you must take her to the market, Jack. We must sell our friend." Jack felt a sharp pain in his chest. He looked at Milky White. She was looking back at him through the glass. He nodded slowly. "I understand, Mother. I will get a good price for her. Many silver coins." The dust on the road rose with every step. Jack held the old rope. Milky White walked beside him, making a soft, sad sound. The sun was high and hot. Jack wiped his forehead. Suddenly, a man stepped out from behind a large stone. Jack stopped. The man was small, but he wore a very long, deep blue cloak. His hair was wild and white, and his eyes were as bright as two small fires. "Good morning, young Jack," the man said. His voice was warm, like a blanket. Jack blinked. He held the rope tighter. "Good morning, sir. How do you know my name?" The old man laughed, a sound like dry leaves moving in the wind. "I know many things. I know your stomach is empty, and I know you are taking this fine cow to the market." "Yes," Jack said, looking down, "to sell her for silver." "Silver?" The old man smiled, his eyes sparkling with a mysterious light. "Silver buys bread for a week. Then the bread is gone. Look at this." The man reached deep inside his cloak. He pulled out his hand and opened his fingers. In his palm sat 5 large beans, but they were not normal. They had a strange, soft purple glow. They looked alive. Jack frowned. "Beans? My mother needs silver, sir." The man leaned closer. "These are not ordinary beans, Jack. These are the seeds of the sky. If you plant them tonight, by tomorrow morning, they will reach the stars. Do you want silver, or do you want magic?" Jack looked at the glowing purple beans. His heart beat faster. Magic. The word felt huge in his mind. He reached out his hand. "Magic," Jack whispered. He gave the rope to the old man and took the beans. They felt warm in his hand. Jack ran. His feet flew over the dusty road. He burst through the cottage door. "Mother, look! We don't need the market!" His mother stood up quickly, her eyes wide with hope. "Jack, the silver? Show me!" Jack opened his hand proudly. The 5 beans cast a soft purple light onto his mother's tired face. She froze. "What is this?" "They are magic, Mother. An old man gave them to me for—" "No!" she shrieked. The word cut through the air like a knife. Her face turned red, and tears of anger filled her eyes. "Magic! You gave our only cow for 5 worthless pieces of garbage!" "But Mother, listen! Go to bed!" she cried. She snatched the beans from his hand, turned to the window, and threw them out into the dark garden. "No dinner for you tonight, Jack. Sleep with your magic." Jack did not say a word. He climbed the wooden stairs to his tiny bedroom. He lay on his hard bed, his stomach completely empty, staring at the dark ceiling. He felt so foolish. He closed his eyes, listening to his mother crying quietly downstairs, until he fell into a heavy sleep. The next morning, a strange green light filled Jack's room. The room was cool. He ran to the window, opened it, and stopped breathing. Right outside his window, a massive green wall had grown. It was the Beanstalk. Its trunk was thicker than the oldest oak tree. Huge, strong green leaves formed perfect steps, twisting up, 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 past the cottage roof, straight through the white clouds, disappearing into the blue sky. Jack did not hesitate. He stepped out of his window and placed his foot onto the first leaf. The wind blew against his face. He looked down. His cottage was now as small as a tiny pebble. His heart raced, but he did not look down again. He looked up. His hands became sticky with fresh green sap. His legs felt heavy, but the air was sweet and thin. Finally, his head broke through the soft white clouds. Before him lay a strange, quiet road made of smooth white stones. The sky here wasn't blue. It was a strange, pale gold. At the end of the road stood a castle. The front door was as tall as a mountain. Jack walked forward, his bare feet making no sound on the white stones. Jack pushed the giant door. It moved slowly, creating a deep, heavy sound. He stepped inside. The kitchen was vast. The ceiling was so high it looked like the sky. A massive black iron pot sat near a fire, and the smell of roasting meat filled the air. Suddenly, the floor beneath Jack's feet shook violently. A giant spoon on the counter rattled against a plate. Someone was coming. Jack quickly hid behind some big bags of grain. He stayed very, very still. He did not make a sound. He did not even breathe. Soon, the giant walked into the room. His heavy footsteps made the floor shake. Jack was very scared, but he did not move. He watched the giant from behind the bags. A massive figure walked into the kitchen. It was a giant man. He was as tall as a church tower. His beard was thick and tangled like wild bushes. On his shoulder, he carried a heavy sack. The giant dropped the sack onto the wooden table. Gold coins spilled out, rolling across the table like shiny wheels. The giant sat down in a chair that sounded like cracking trees. He began to count the coins with his thick, dirty fingers. 1, 2, 3. His voice roared, shaking the air inside Jack's hiding place. But after a few minutes, the giant's voice grew slower. 4, 5. He yawned, a sound like a great wind. He leaned his heavy head on the table. Within seconds, a terrible noise filled the room. Snore, whistle, snore. Jack watched through the crack. The gold coins shone in the firelight. That gold could buy bread for a lifetime, Jack thought. He pushed the oven door open quietly. He crawled across the floor, climbed the giant leg of the table, and grabbed the heavy sack. He slid down, holding it tightly against his chest, and ran out into the golden light. Weeks passed. The gold bought many things: fresh bread, warm blankets, and a new roof. But eventually the sack became empty. Jack knew he had to climb the green ladder once more. He climbed through the clouds. He entered the giant kitchen. This time, he hid inside a large, empty flour jar. The giant entered again. This time he did not have gold. He carried a small, beautiful harp made of pure gold. The giant sat down, looking tired and angry. "Play!" he shouted at the object. The harp began to play all by itself. Its strings moved without fingers. The music was pure, beautiful, and filled with a deep sadness. It was so sweet that Jack forgot his fear for a moment. The giant closed his heavy eyes, his breathing becoming slow and loud. Jack crept out of the flour jar. His boots were covered in white dust. He climbed the table, reached out his hands, and picked up the golden harp. But the moment Jack's fingers touched the metal, the harp opened its tiny golden eyes. "Master! Master!" it cried out in a beautiful, terrified voice.
Help! A boy is stealing me!
The giant's eyes flew open like two lightning bolts. He jumped up, knocking his chair to the floor with a terrifying crash.
Fee, fi, fo, fum,
he roared, his voice tearing through the room.
I smell the blood of an English boy.
Jack did not look back. He leaped from the table, holding the screaming Harp under his arm, and sprinted toward the giant front door. Behind him, the giant's massive boots hit the stone floor. Jack reached the beanstalk. He swung his body under the green leaves and slid down like a falling star. The leaves ripped past his face. Above him, the beanstalk suddenly twisted and bent. The giant was climbing down too. The entire green structure groaned under the immense weight. Jack's feet slammed into the dirt of his own garden. "Mother! Mother! The axe! Bring the axe!" His mother rushed out of the cottage, her eyes widening with terror as she looked up. Through the white clouds, two giant leather boots were descending, breaking the green branches. Jack grabbed the heavy iron axe from her hands. He took a deep, steady breath. Weighing the axe, he hit the thick green trunk. White sap sprayed into the air. He struck it again and again. The giant roared from above, a sound of pure panic as the giant beanstalk began to lean toward the earth. With one last desperate cry, Jack swung the axe with all his strength. Crack! The giant beanstalk snapped. It fell through the air like a dying dragon, crashing down into the deep, empty valley miles away with a sound like thunder. Then, everything went completely silent. The dust slowly settled in the small garden. The air was warm again. The sun shone brightly on the grass. Jack and his mother stood side by side, their chests rising and falling heavily. They looked down. At their feet, resting safely on the soft green grass, was the golden harp. It was no longer crying. It began to play a soft, gentle melody, a song of peace, safety, and a beautiful new beginning. Thank you for listening. Sleep well, and see you next time.